Dear Indian fellows, you will hear the countdown beginning, and with every countdown, I feel really proud of myself because this mission of Chandryaann-3
Here we have a majestic liftoff of LVM-3 M4 rocket
that has
carrying India's
lifted off just now. I'm in 14th of July. Was a landmark first step into the exploration of the moon's surface, and it is hoped that Indian ISRO mission will be successfully landing its LVM-3 M4, and it's going to achieve all the intended targets, including the soft landing through its detachment of the rover and its lander. And touchdown is going to be smooth. If I have to talk about the major specifications of the lander, and we know 300,000 kilometers away from the Earth, this mission life is 1 lunar day, and rover, as it's named, its major specifications of the lander can be like there are 3 payloads, and it has dimensions of 2000 to 2000 to 1166, and it's going to pay off in the long run because this mission is aimed at not only exploring all the promising precious resources that's likely to be found in the south pole of the moon, and moon being one of the closest satellites close to the Earth, and the lander, which is supposed to be, because so far it has been going so well, and it has been sending even spectacular pictures of its selfies with the land of the moon's surface, and it's going to send us even brighter pictures once it's in close proximity of around 160 kilometers, and then finally 100 kilometers. And this surface thermophysical experiment, then the probe, the instrument for lunar seismic activity, which is going to measure around the landing site and delineating the structure of the lunar crust and mantle, and the propulsion module payloads is a spectropolarimetry of a habitable planet Earth. So after 4 years of painstaking, meticulous preparation with thousands of ground space scientists, because unfortunately Chandryaann-2 lifted off but blasted off within a couple of hits, simply because of some technical glitches. But this time it has made sure that most of the separation stages and booster stages and all the operational heavy lift vehicles has a spectacular degree of completing 6 consecutive successful missions. So this is the 4th operational flight of LVM-3, aims to launch Chandryaann-3. This is in Harikota range in Andhra, and I have been watching the video and I have gotten to know loads of intricacies and the perplexity. That's why even the proverbial saying, it says that it's not a rocket science. That means the most difficult part of, so the LMV3, this LVM light vehicle has proved its versatility to undertake most complex missions. Like what are the missions that is aims to undertake and deliver successfully? It's injecting multi-satellites. It's mission planning to ensure safe relative distance among separated satellites through reorientations, velocity addition maneuvers. This is a multi-orbit LEO, MEO, GEO, and executive interplanetary mission. This is not just one planet mission made for just one planet missions, and this can be interplanetary mission. and multi-orbit. So India's largest and this is the heaviest launch vehicle ferrying Indian international customer satellites. It has opened its commercial venture also, and world over they're going to take the services of this, and it's going to pay off rich dividends to the Indian space organizations, because I'm really puffed with the pride that is the fourth nation in the world among the seven key players, and I would say that it's a joint venture of seven leading space ventures, and India is proudly becoming and it's get crashed into the exclusive club of these spacefaring nations, along with USA, China, and France, Japan, and so I'm going to go in details of all those seven nations. What are they up to, and why these core missions of space missions are really important, and why do we need to pursue and spend so much from even the it's not a progressive or economy like India, it can, but the best thing about India's space missions that it's cost effective, it's based on indigenously built and developed and completely conceived and engineered by ground staff without having to depend on the other spacefaring nations, and we didn't have to really collaborate much just for cryogenic engines. And I remember once USA has declined to offer its cryogenic engine, and then India vowed to have its own, and it developed, and hats off to those scientists, and thousands of scientists. They have been relentlessly working to shaping up and also making it happen. So it's a second launch pad from and if I have to talk about some of the specifications of this LVM3 M4 stage at a glance, not as it takes into account the apogee, the perigee, the inclination. It's all about how dimensions work and how it's going to get into the orbit first in the first handshake, and then how it's going to be sucked into the gravitational pull of the moon, and then how it's going to accelerate or decrease its movements, and it's like the entire odyssey of. So every stage there are some strap-on stage, like just attaching this with the vehicle and satellites, and then taking it to the range. Then we have core stages, then we have upper stages where there are multi-stages. We have propellant type, propellant masses, and they all split into sections, and it's really a very, very complex mechanism, and especially the lander is going to touch upon, which wasn't successfully done the last mission. And our Prime Minister felt really sorry for those scientists, and he hugged them and encouraged them, and really it took around four years for them to gear up once again afresh. And this time they make sure that everything is going fine as per projections, and it is going fine. In fact, we're by 17th of August, it is going to be very close to the moon. It already started emanating brilliant pictures, selfies of and is going to send even brighter videos once it's contact with, because it's a promising south pole where we believe that it's full of some precious minerals, and in fact the whole space abounds with loads of minerals. But the technology should allow us to go deeper and dig into those reserves of. It's a reservoir, and it's trillions and trillions of dollars of minerals to be found, including titanium and gold and those kinds of. So I'm not going into the all kind of details of how this lifts off, how this attaches straps, and how it gets into orbit, and how it is, how all the stages are successfely, and then acclimatization of the last payload fairing, and then so it's a liquid propulsion based, and with the thrust of the thrust, and with separation of the so it's a multi-usage vehicle, and many countries have been using them. In fact, this integration activities of LVM4, it's very complex, and it's too heavy a load. The first time this kind of heavy propulsion engines have been developed, and the mission is adept at going to create historical maneuvering after maneuvering, but it includes multiple layers of maneuverings with all kinds of successful stage after stage execution, and hopefully it's ground control from the range with the program director and all that, keep an eye on watching, and also making sure that not only the lift of the this is successfully achieved, but also so it's hoped that India will create history. It's already into the making, because India has been after space exploration right from the inception of Jawaharlal Nehru and the succeeding prime minister, including the present one. They have invested, and our scientists are capable enough to. We have great physicists, and we have had in Pokhran the very first successful mission of nuclear reactor. Even our nuclear reactors is very unique in the sense that it uses hard water as a coolant, and it's supposed to be one of the safest in the world, although we don't depend largely on nuclear energy here, around 5 to 10%, or maybe max 15%. So I'll talk about something of all the organizations of the world which are into space exploration. There are 7 top, as I told you, that countries which they really invest heavily into the space explorations. So NASA, of course, comes first, the USA, which in partnership with all the private conglomerates and players like Elon Musk, SpaceX, and Blue Origin, and there are so many private players now, because space tourism is going to be a reality very soon, and probably in a couple of years we'll be having space tourism, and anyone who could just dole out a couple of $1.5 million or something like this can enjoy this journey into the space. And if just imagine altogether budget of NASA is around $20 billion, and that was in 2018. Now it's 23. So, but it's still, without the involvement of the private players and loads of investment, because it requires reusable engines, and that has been achieved so far, because it's splashed down with so much of heat. So it used to be, once it's used, it's no more usable. Now we have the reusable vehicles, the spacecrafts, and that's what's made the promises very rosy. And then NASA is looking forward to a novel program that aims to send humans to explore Mars missions in the moon, and it's going to be a reality very soon, because the agency doesn't keep all the information to itself. It disseminated the information with the other private players and parties, and they also involved in billions of dollars are being registered. It also plays a part in the education sector. So the not only experiment, also communication on ground and education sector. It's aids students to be future scientists. Also inculcates ground engineers, astronauts, extensive knowledge and factual formations. People at NASA are really adventurous, and it's a saga of around 50 to 100 years. So NASA becoming the top player. Just followed by trailing behind by China, National Space Agency. So they have their own programs, and every country is aiming at having its say and dominance in some of the planets. And of course, Mars has been the most attractive one because it promises loads and loads of human-like conditions where we'll have, even the moon has offered plenty of water. And it's likely that we could have some sort of habitation or colonization or some sort of experimental stations there, and from there will be multi-stages space exploration. That's possible because that's the only way we can have deep exploration to the other planets within the range, and we could even get to know about the creation of the Earth in relation to its present atmosphere. So the Chinese National Space Agency is the People's China government agency responsible for all space administration, international space cooperation. So it has been sending successful missions, and then they have own family of boosters and rockets boosters which can go too far, like long march boosters. They play a role of competitors in the international commercial space launch market, communication satellites, and that's all kinds of communication established only through satellite. And the Starlink for Elon Musk, that he is planning to have a complete, hundreds and hundreds of satellites in the space without having to do anything with the ground. On Earth, all the wireless, and this is without interruptions, without loss of transmission. Elon Musk, Starlink is aiming to. In fact, has been successfully been establishing internet connectivity in Ukraine with the help of Starlink during this ongoing war with Russia. So the Ministry of Aerospace, Space, and every country has a separate wing and separate ministry. Chinese space or aerospace corporations, this is called CNCA. And it's very successful. It has been apart from Japan. So, and one of the biggest player and skill player is the European Space Agency, ESA. So this European space is defined as a gateway to space. Why? Because it's collaborative efforts of most of the nations, and it holds a mission to shape Europe's space capability development, make sure that the investment in space continues as to deliver advantage to European citizens and the world. So that means a joint effort where the organization comprises 18 member states, and coordination, intellectual and financial resources of these members, they are pooled, and mission after mission for organization to undertake activities and programs. That's way beyond, unlike India, which is almost independent of its missions, and it has been successfully doing all kinds of missions standalone without having to either import or having to collaborate, or and also it's a matter of pride that it has been offering space scientists and services to the other nations like Middle East, and they, that these days even Middle East countries they have been vying to, including Saudi Arabia, to have their own satellites and own agencies in the making. So the role of European Space Agency is crucial because it's a multi-planetary and it's a real-time space movement. And also dealing with the solar system and the universe and all the observable planets are to be included in the missions. And so organization works closely with many other space companies outside. In fact, this European Space Agency, they have a tie-up with India also, and we sometimes give our services, and they give their services to our, So the Russians is obviously comes next to the USA, because USA and they've always been competing with each other, and they have been right from the first landing on the moon, where Russia trailed behind, simply because the USA took the lead for a couple of last minute glitches from Russians, or Soyuz, and we had a first step on the moon by Neil Armstrong and Aldrin. So Americans have had a lead, but Americans couldn't fare much better as compared to, because it has a paucity of the funds, and then they have to invite the players like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and now they are deep into this exploration, because they are vying to have a piece of cake. I mean, like I told you, that it's the space offers a large reservoir of precious metals and materials and minerals, and those minerals could be brought. But the thing is that transportation could be so costly. If we can have usable satellites like Elon Musk has already achieved, it would be easier for bringing or transporting all the minerals back to Earth, there's processing it, or probably processing it in the space station itself. So a space test, it needs to be mentioned. I mean, Russians have been doing the experimental, and they have a very huge infrastructure already in its place, and they have had myriads of scientific programs. Roscosmos, the programs revolve around communication, earth science, scientific research. They have successfully, sent many of the cosmonauts into space and space for years, and they have had programs, and the Russian space industry is huge, and it has been implementing with its regular, legal regulations of Russian space programs. So this is something really that the whole world has to unite and join hands. Otherwise, because the independence explorations could be achieved planet to planet or satellite, but for a totality of the outcome of interplanetary spacefaring species, that's what Elon Musk, I heard saying that we are going to be interplanetary species. So SpaceX is one of the, it's so promising that, its designs, its projects, its constructs, it launches advanced space and rockets. So the American space company, situated in Hawthorne, California, has a goal to make visiting space affordable, so humans that anyone could, think of having his holiday in the space, and also colonizing in Mars. And they have already come up with the idea of how to produce pod-like and produce their own grains and sustainable foods items, which would supplement not only the obviously the beginning will be a small group of people to inhabit. There could be scientists, educationists, or researchers, and to begin with, and then later on to be open to the rest of the people. So Roller Space is a private space company. It sends people like some NASA crews, also and satellites to international space stations. So international space station, from there they have missions from there they have. So the mission statement of space, I'm just reading it. Musk says that you want to wake up in the morning and think the future is going to be great, and that's what being spacefaring civilization is all about. So it's about just think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars. So he says that why not dream big? Why not, just think of, and probably there is a fear, unfounded maybe, that this earth is no more going to be livable, or we have ravages beyond redemption, and it is parched and it's losing, and then the climate changes is so fast, and that's the rise in temperature, and then submergence of the low-lying areas, and then also the disappearance of the fauna and flora, also our acclimatizations, and we will be best suited to outer space than our Earth. That is unfortunate, because this is the only inhabitable place that we have. So probably there is a race between either exploring the new planets and new spaces for the humans to be transported or to inhabit, or to improve upon the condition of the Earth so that our Earth remains the same lucrative space where we have had our thousands of years of civilizations. So our ISRO, it's just $1.5 billion. Look, compared to the USA and all. So the best thing about our technology is that it's indigenously built and grown exponentially from mission to mission, with the helping hands of those budding scientists, and even NASA from the USA is all manned by or already staffed by majority of the Indians who really take a flight for greener pastures, and they because it's a cost-effective and unique technology we come up with every now and then, and that's why it attracts attention of the rest of the world. So we may not be faring much better in other areas. We may have a struggling economy, but our approach towards space exploration is very clear, that we are doing it not for destructive. We are doing it for constructive purposes, and is purely intended to carry out researches and to bring about whatever holds the good, and it's like a do-gooder. The smart approach makes the organization elite once in the world. So ISRO's predecessor organization was called the Indian National Committee for Space Research. But Indian Space Research Organization established by Vikram Sarabhai, one of the noted scientists who was really acclaimed to be the pioneer in the astrophysics. And so I won't be completing this unless I happen to mention the seventh big player, and Japan Aerospace Corporation. Japan has